My near-death experience was a slow process, but at the same time very fast for me and my family to experience. But of course, we knew that I had been an alcoholic, and I had been diagnosed with AIDS a few years before. The time I'm talking about is in '96 when I really get sick from AIDS and alcoholism. Most of my AIDS diagnosis is from my lifestyle alcoholism. I talked about my stomach. I talked about my digestive system, my being dehydrated. I talked about how I was beginning to lose my the feeling in my feet. They became cantaloupe size. They became big. I was retaining water. I developed nerve damage in my feet called peripheral neuropathy. My central nervous system was beginning to break down. This part I want to talk to you about. One day, do you know those candles, those ear candles that clean your ears out? Well, there's these ear candles that you burn at the top. It's a cone, a long cone, and you stick in your ear. Well, they work pretty good because it sucks all that wax out. Well, my family was doing that for the first time around Christmas time, and I had volunteered, of course, and I wanted to try it out. I had already been feeling a little bit weird and not so well. I've been feeling all that stuff, and they went ahead and did that on me, and the minute it was done, things changed. I felt a little bit, my equilibrium was off. I felt dizzy. I felt confused. But I didn't tell anybody. I knew that we had plans to go to a church service the next day. It was a Saturday night, so we were going to church the next day, and didn't want to ruin anybody, by freaking them out and telling them that I don't feel good, so I kept my mouth shut. We fall asleep, we wake up, we get ready to go to church. I begin in the morning as I get ready. I can kind of tell that there's the voices that I'm hearing of people talking. I begin to notice that they're echoed. They're a little bit echoed. They're a little bit distant, like in a tunnel. And I don't say nothing still. Still, they come up and help me get dressed because I can't think too clearly. I've developed dementia, this type of dementia, either alcoholism dementia or just plain HIV dementia. All of it was a mix together. When you have a terrible lifestyle, HIV is going to take over. So there I was, taken off in the morning in the van. We all went to church. The church that we were going to was called the Arvada Center. If those of you who are aware of the Arvada Center, it's a performing arts center. And you walk in, and there's a set of doors that you open, glass doors, and then there's a second set of doors that you open. And then you finally get into the building. As I did that with my family, I noticed that each time I opened the door, entering a church service, mind you, that this church service was probably one of the first that I have attended in over 15 years or something like that. Gay boy goes to church for the first time, dying of AIDS, with his family. I walk into the church, the Arvada Center, first front doors, boom, I feel this powerful force begin to feel really in that tunnel, hearing more voices like the Charlie Brown voice, wah, wah, wah. Everything became understand. I couldn't comprehend anything. Second set of doors, I walk into the second set of doors, I begin to cry. I begin to lose everything. Not to the point where I collapse or anything, where I fall, but I began to weep and I began to cry very steadily. It was continuous, and I couldn't explain what was going on. I couldn't explain. I couldn't talk. I could not talk. I knew I was there to get, it could be my final days. I was trying to get blessed, and I wanted to go into the church service, and they had it off into this, because it's a lobby, and then you walk into this room, and then that's where they had the church service. I went into the church service, and I sat down, and I could not stop crying. Of course, that attracted a lot of attention to everybody. So I was escorted out of the church service, and I went and sat in the lobby. A few people came across, and they joined me, and they said, "How you doing? How you feeling?" Of course, I still couldn't talk. I still couldn't say nothing. I was in this zone where I couldn't stop crying. And I also began to feel weakness in my legs, and when it finally got to the point where my brother-in-law Eddie decided that he needs to take me to the ER, because people were, can't figure it out. We're halfway into the church service, and I still can't stop crying. And we were there from beginning, or at least I was there from the beginning to the middle of the church service. We take off in the van to the hospital. In the emergency room, I'm still crying, and I still can't control my crying. And it was funny, I was able to get a few words out to Eddie and say, "I don't know what's going on. I cannot stop. I cannot stop crying. I don't know how to stop this." And it was weird, and it was, I don't know what it seemed like to him, but I just, even in the emergency room, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was going on, and I was sent to this room. I was sent to this room. I was even put in the psych ward for a short time, a psych section, and thinking I was depressed. And after they realized that I wasn't depressed, they just sent me home, saying nothing's wrong. I went home that night. My family noticed that I had stopped crying, but I had begun to repeat everything that was said off of the TV. I began to mimic everything that was said on the TV. Anybody who talked to me, I began to repeat what they said. And once again, this was something that I could not control. I could not control what I was saying and what I was doing. I remember being put in my sister's bedroom and laying on this mattress that they had, because they had came and helped my mom take care of me. So my sister and brother-in-law Eddie were sleeping on like this air mattress, literally. And I remember feeling some comfort and going to lay down with them. And it ended with, I wanted to eat, but I couldn't eat, and they made some good food, and I tried to eat. It was really weird to eat and be in this situation, and I remember eating a little bit, and I remember my mom saying, "Leave him alone," and "leave him alone," and because I began to repeat things off of the TV. I mean, it was constantly, we're talking 3, 4, 5 hours. Next day, they take me to the ER again. We go to the emergency room. They admit me inside the hospital. And I am inside my own room. I am inside the hospital now. I am on some floor. I can picture myself being there on some floor, and I had some time to myself. I was laying there, and I heard a voice come to me saying, you did what your dad did. You withdrawed from alcohol, and you had a nervous breakdown." And it was just like that. And then it hit me. That felt like the right answer. That felt like, you got to push that button, push that nurse button, tell the doctors what happened, because they still did not know what was going on with me. They were about to do spinal taps and MRIs or whatever, or send me to a hospice. So when whenever who came back first, a nurse or a doctor, the first thing I spit out, it was actually even my mom and my sister were the first ones coming to me. They came inside the room, and they were talking to me, and they were about to say something like, "This reminds me of what your dad went through." My dad also had a nervous breakdown after he withdrew from alcohol, and before they spoke up, I said, I know what happened to me. I had a nervous breakdown. And the doctors were putting needles in my legs. I wasn't feeling my legs. My legs weren't working. I wasn't able to walk. They were trying to tell if I had any sensitivity. And somehow my mind came back, but my feet went. My feet just went. The feeling in my feet left, and I wasn't able to move my legs. That's a long talk. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to fill you in on the rest. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Peace out. Stay tuned. This is the next part is the best. God bless you all. And if I talk too fast and if I said too much, please feel free to rewind and watch again. Cheers, mates.